The focus on anti-bullying. Well, why don't we turn around into the behaviors that are leading to bullying? Let's make it pro-kindness, and let's make it hip, fashionable, trendy, and cool to be kind. And let's have celebrities who have a platform that kids look up to as role models to use their platform to talk about kindness as a strength and a superpower. We've got to turn this narrative around. And we mentioned the word love many times already in this podcast, and it's such a powerful word. And kindness is love in action. And when tragedies like this happen, there really are no words. As hard as we try, and I try, there are no words to properly convey how I'm feeling and my sorrow and my grief. But when there are no words, we show our love.
Welcome to the Kindness Factor podcast, sharing life-changing personal stories of the transformational impact of deep kindness. Hosted by
Dr. Elia, the happiness doctor.
And Randy McNeely, Captain Kindman. Thank you for joining us. Hello, my wonderful friends. Welcome to another episode of the Kindness Factor podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Randy McNeely, Captain Kindman, and we're here to share with you transformative stories of kindness, because kindness delivers the love that touches hearts and saves lives. And this is just a little reminder, if you haven't done this already, it is really helpful for us to be able to get great guests and expand our kindness reach around the globe. If you'll take the time to go in and like and subscribe to this channel if you're listening on YouTube, or if you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, go in and leave us a review. Give us some love in the form of stars. We would really appreciate that. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen, and we're excited to introduce to you our next amazing guest. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be. Welcome to another episode of the Kindness Factor podcast. I'm Randy McNeely, also known as Captain Kindman, the kindness giver, and Dr. Elia Gorgoris, my co-host, the happiness doctor, the happy Greek. I could come up with like 20 other adjectives to describe this good man. We're just thrilled to have the opportunity today to have a conversation, again, another conversation with our good friend and strategic partner, Kevin Smith, founder of Kindness Worldwide, a wonderful organization that is striving to create cultures of kindness throughout the world. And we're going to let Kevin briefly. Kevin, would you just tell us a little bit about Kindness Worldwide, what you're doing and why? And then we're going to jump into some other topics, some that are a little bit heavy. I'm going to warn you right now, this is going to be a little bit heavier conversation than we usually have due to some recent events in York, where Kevin is, York, Pennsylvania. But Kevin, first of all, just bring us up to speed on Kindness Worldwide and what's been happening over the last year.
Well, good morning, my friends. Well, I looked at my calendar. It was roughly a year ago at this time that I was a guest on your podcast. And what happened up until then was nothing short of magical, if not miraculous. And what has unfolded since, the adventure continues, as you both are aware, and we're only just beginning. But just as a refresher, Kindness Worldwide was launched on November 9, 2023, inspired by a single act of kindness, which I was the beneficiary of on Good Friday morning, 2023. And in my innocent attempt to simply identify a young woman who basically returned my wallet moments after I realized it was lost, and thank her in a more meaningful way, it took on a life of its own and became about making a meaningful difference. And a number of coincidences and a chain of events few would believe ultimately inspired me to form Kindness Worldwide. It's a global nonprofit, has a vision to create a culture of kindness in communities throughout the world, certainly something our world needs more of in these current times. And there's a number of initiatives as part of that vision. Our signature initiative is Kindness Week Worldwide, which was initially celebrated in York, Pennsylvania, my home community, and neighboring counties. Even Governor Shapiro recognized Kindness Week in year one. And this past year, Kindness Week Worldwide spread to many other communities throughout the world, and including Elia's home of Greece, Delphi, Greece. The mayor was engaged in California and Maryland and Australia. And so our vision is to bring the magic of Kindness Week Worldwide to communities anywhere and everywhere, consistent with our vision. It's the one thing that unites us all, and let's bring people and communities together more broadly to celebrate what I believe is humanity's greatest asset, which is kindness.
And not only celebrate it, I think, Kevin, but also resolve some of the deeper issues that oftentimes afflict our society. a lot of times here in the United States, because we have an unfortunate record. Uh, we have the most shootings or mass shootings in the world. Unfortunately, for a side that is as wealthy as we are here, there's a deficit when it comes to mental health, and oftentimes, and I know that impacted your town, York, just this past week. So if you want to tell us a little bit about what happened, and then I think we need to have this discussion. It's a long time coming, though.
No, you bet, my friend. Well, I believe at its core, if you look at all the issues our world is facing, locally, globally, nationally, I don't think there's a single problem that can't be solved in our world today by more kindness. And I think at its core,
Yeah.
that is what is lacking in our culture. I think we're seeing a gradual erosion of our values as a global society. We're becoming more connected in terms of technology, but we're losing connection and we're not connecting. And that has implications and many implications. And there's a lot of issues we can address. I believe we should have a national conversation on all these issues because we cannot accept this new normal, so to speak, because it's not normal. I grew up in a time where our schools were safe, our hospitals were safe. We didn't lock our doors. And, that was the culture we were in at the time. It was a culture of kindness. And so if it can happen then, there's no reason we can't return to that same culture today, but we're something is amiss. And unfortunately, we experienced a tragedy in my home community of York, Pennsylvania this past Saturday. At a place of all places you never would envision it would occur was a hospital, an emergency room of a hospital. And we had evidently there was a terminally ill patient who lost her life earlier in the week, and family member mourning and grieving. And apparently, I guess it speaks to mental health and mental wellness issues. But this individual, this family member who was grieving, felt necessary to enter that hospital, that emergency room the following Saturday with a gun and zip ties, and took the emergency room hostage, the ICU hostage. And long story short, 5 were wounded and 2 ultimately were killed, including the gunman and a police officer in my home community who just turned 30 years old. And it's so senseless. We can point the finger at a lot of things, and there's so many issues I think that contributed to this. In fact, the ICU doctor actually wrote a Facebook post that was very heartfelt and very thoughtful that went viral. And there's so many underlying issues involved, and we've got to get our arms around this. We cannot accept the status quo, and I refuse to accept the status quo. And as a global community, we've got to have this conversation and address the underlying issues. And there are many, but I think at its core, it's a culture of kindness that is lacking that we got to return to.
You know, Kevin, what you said is so powerful, and I just want to just add a little bit to that. Here's the reason why a culture of kindness is so vital. Because ultimately, there's not a person on this planet that does not need to love and feel loved. And kindness is love in action. Kindness is the delivery mechanism for love. That's why the work we're doing, that's why we do the Kindness Factor, this podcast, to share stories of kindness, to allow our audience to see and hear about kindness experiences that have touched and transformed people's lives. That is the power of kindness, because it delivers love. It delivers the love that touches hearts, reaches hearts, and transforms lives. And you can't help but ask. I can't help but sit here and think, if somewhere along the way, if someone had reached out with more love to this person who committed this heinous crime, would that crime have occurred? I don't know. We can't know the answer to that, but that's a question we need to be asking.
Well, one of the characteristics of kindness is is empathy and compassion. And it's putting ourselves in someone else's shoes, which is impossible to do, but we can try. And to be where someone else is in that moment in time. And as you may know, one of the mantras or taglines of Kindness Worldwide is see the good, be the good, go the extra mile. And this concept of seeing the good in others and in ourselves, but being the reason someone else feels seen. Think about what that means, being seen. That means that someone is truly understood. They feel value. They feel self-worth. And that gets into empathy. And we'll never know, but the little things are the big things. I mean, maybe it was just active listening. Maybe it's not just the words, but listening and trying to be where someone else is at any point in time. And this concept of grief is something, look, we've all experienced loss in various ways. I mean, I have, and it's a terrible, terrible feeling. And we all process and mourn in different ways, but it is just so sad and so unfortunate. This individual who lost a family member was grieving, just felt it necessary to take that out on others. And now we've lost two more lives. And our community's hearts are broken. And this is not normal. Then this can't continue, and we really need to look at the underlying reasons why. And there's a lot of finger pointing go around, but I think at the end of the day, I keep coming back to, we've all got to look in the mirror and be a little bit better. And I realized I had an epiphany after this act of kindness occurred. I can point my fingers at others all I want, and it solves nothing. I can't control the actions of others, but what I can do is look in the mirror and point at me, and I've got to be the change. I've got to try to be a little bit better and hopefully lead by my example and inspire others hopefully to do the same. And we all have a role to play in this. We can't just look for others to solve the world's problems. We got to solve them ourselves.
People die every single day by the hundreds of thousands across the globe. And people grieve those people that die every day. And the majority of the time, the high majority of the time, the grieving takes place in ways that we would consider normal. There's crying, there's sadness, there's depression, there's, just outright grief, right? But once in a while, and in this particular tragic case in New York, somebody feels like this loss could have been prevented, perhaps, and wants to exact revenge, which of course doesn't bring the dead person back anyway. Think about it. That's so love in terms of kindness, love in action is very much what you both have said is look around, listen with what I would call the third ear, which is you call it active listening. I always call it listen with the third ear. If somebody's getting distraught, people can be distraught without being violent. But if somebody is distraught, they usually there's an indication of blame. And the anger or the rage is usually somewhat visible, right? So if I hear somebody, my cousin, who's like really distraught and blames the doctor, oh, I'm going to do something about this. This is the time to intervene and say, what are you planning on doing? Because mom is not coming back, right? So let's grieve and bury her properly and grieve together and let's stay connected. No, I feel like the doctors did this and, I got to go after them. Then that's why we need to use whatever resources we have to stabilize this person, even if that means in their grief and in their rage and being distraught. And I'm speaking as a former clinical psychologist, where I used to sometimes, rarely, used to hospitalize people because they were unstable, meaning that they were either a threat to themselves or they made a threat to hurt somebody else. And by law, in every state, as a psychologist or a mental health practitioner, you're mandated to make a phone call and say, hey, I'm really concerned. Whether they put those things on social media, because nowadays, a lot of times when there's a terrorist attack or if there's some kind of attack, usually if you go back to and you look at their social media, they have expressed oftentimes violent philosophies or whatever. So I think we need to get more into the prevention mode rather than afterwards say, my gosh, this is tragic. That never should have happened. Okay, well, let's get more into the prevention. And part of that prevention is be aware, listen, and then act. When you say do the good means you could have saved this person's life, who's also your relative or a friend, right? So our society needs to start becoming not like, oh, he's just mad, don't worry about it. No, this person is distraught, they're not thinking straight, and they're planning to do something horrific. So we got to intervene to prevent a tragedy. It happens sometimes, but far too often, and we shouldn't get jaded or say, well, that's how our society is. No, it's not acceptable. I love the fact that you definitively said this is not acceptable because this 30-year-old police officer, he also was a son to somebody and
He
a
was the
brother.
only son, and a mother is grieving, lost her only child. I mean, no parent should ever bury a
And for
child.
what? For what? Because he's defending the ER doctor and the nurses.
Well, we
I
need to,
mean,
we need to be proactive, not reactive. And as you can imagine, when the emotions are high, there's a lot of reactions to what occurred, and we need more security. We need more metal detectors in hospitals. And
that's not
yes,
sorry.
maybe there's a role for that, but we need to address the issue. Why do we even need to be talking about having more security in hospitals and schools, right? We didn't have that growing up. There were no school shootings. There were no issues like this. And why are they happening now? And so, yes, there's a role for that, but we need to turn it around and be proactive, just like anti-bullying, which has become an epidemic in our world. The focus on anti-bullying, anti-bullying. Well, why don't we turn around into the behaviors that are leading the bullying? Let's make it pro-kindness, and let's make it hip, fashionable, trendy, and cool to be kind. Let's send a message to our children, to our youth, that kindness is a strength. And let's have celebrities who have a platform that kids look up to as role models to use their platform to talk about kindness as a strength and a superpower. We've got to turn this narrative around. And we mentioned the word love many times already in this podcast, and it's such a powerful word. And kindness is love in action. And when tragedies like this happen, I mean, there really are no words. As hard as we try, and I try, there are no words to properly convey how I'm feeling and my sorrow and my grief. But when there are no words, we show our love. And when I look at my home community, which I love, which has embraced the spirit of kindness, it has a culture of kindness, and the way it's celebrated Kindness Week wide in the first year was nothing less than magical. It was one of the most meaningful weeks of my life to see how it unfolded. But
hello, my wonderful friends. I want to give you a fantastic opportunity today to step into the shoes of a kindness hero. How? Just watch this little video clip. And if it resonates, stop by www.kindnessworldwide.org today and make a donation to help them carry out their wonderful vision of creating cultures of kindness throughout the world. Thank you for your support.
When a wallet was returned just moments after it was lost, a purpose was found. This one act of kindness inspired the formation of the nonprofit Kindness Worldwide to create a culture of kindness in communities throughout the world. Kindness Week Worldwide mobilized the entire community in York, Pennsylvania, featuring initiatives and playbook programs including blood drives, kindness cards, K-12 and college students embracing kindness, and an innovative means of community policing, kindness citations. If something so magical can happen in York, Pennsylvania, the same and other inspirations can happen anywhere and everywhere. Our Screen Scenes initiative featuring the Kindness Factor will showcase these many stories of kindness. Let's include your community among them. Kindness is the heartbeat of the world. Together, with your support, we can make all its hearts beat as one.
To see my community respond in the way it has, this doesn't surprise me, but they are showing their love. I mean, they're just doing things to support the family, fundraisers. They are visible signs and displays, candlelight vigils, things you would expect, but also just seeing a procession of emergency responder vehicles miles long through all the downtown, the heart of our city at a time its heart is broken. I mean, that just shows what a community does, when they come together to support one of their own. But the sad part about it is it should not take a tragedy to show a community's kindness. And we all came together as a country after 9/11, right? And in a way that, few had seen before. And it didn't matter if you were Republican or Democrat or what camp you fell in or what tribe you're in. We just came together out of a spirit of love of our country and our fellow man. And how long did that last? It was fleeting. And then we're back to this divisiveness again. And we've got to make it chronic. We've got to create a culture of kindness, not just for a day a week, but that's just a way of life. And mindful kindness is so important. And we all have a role to play in that. But, again, we cannot be content with the status quo. We cannot become desensitized to it. We can't look the other way. We've got to look within, and we got to look at each other and with each other and support each other. And we've just got to change going forward. We've got to be the reason someone believes in the goodness of people.
That's a perfect statement there. It is to lead into what I was just thinking when Elia was in Los Angeles. He just got back from Los Angeles. He arrived there the day after the fires started. And, we're not going to go into all the details, but he had a real roller coaster ride while he was there. But in our, I interviewed Elia while he was there, and in our conversation, we talked about the same thing that you just said. We can't be waiting for a tragedy to happen to come together. The time to come together is now. The time to come together is every day. It's love that's delivered through kindness, it's the only thing that transcends differences. It's the thing that allows us to see people as people and not as objects or not as black or white or brown or whatever. We see people as human beings who deserve to be valued and appreciated. That's the beautiful message about delivering kindness. And every person, everybody that's listening to this, every day, you don't have to be a celebrity. You can step up and be a celebrity yourself. You can step up and step into the shoes of a kindness hero. How? Just by looking for and acting on as many acts of kindness as reasonably, I can say that word, reasonably possible. I mean, think about that. If we have our kindness antennas up, as I like to say, and are looking actively and intentionally looking for opportunities to be kind, they will come. They will come. And then we'll see them. We'll see them. We'll see. And we will be amazed at how many we see around us that have been there all the time that we weren't seeing because we weren't looking for them.
Randy and Ilya, I mean, you know this well, but, we were all in Palermo, Italy at the General Assembly of the World Kindness Movement in October. And the theme of the General Assembly was kindness will change the world, which I truly believe. It not only will, it certainly can, but it certainly will, and it already has. But it was Margaret Mead who made a comment or quote. She said, never doubt the ability of a small group of thoughtful, committed individuals to change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has.
Hmm.
And that's so true. And I truly believe that. And that's really what we're all collectively as a global community, committed to doing. I mean, that's what our ambassadors are doing, they're part of Kindness Worldwide, and each of you are ambassadors, and there's many more of them. And a small group can lead to a bigger group, and one can become many. Just like one act of kindness can lead to many, many more. One individual committed to make a difference. Any one of us has that power within us to be the change we wish for, and that's what we're in the midst of. I mean, that's really what the vision of Kindness Worldwide is all about. It's not a me endeavor, it's a we endeavor, and collectively we can do that. And if I didn't believe that, I assure you I've got many other things to do with my time, and we all do. But we're in the midst of something I truly believe is not only magical but miraculous. And if we're committed to it as a global citizenry, there's no doubt in my mind that vision can be achieved.
One of the beautiful things about, and I love this about you, Kevin, is you always say, the person in the mirror, that it really starts with us. And I would say, and the call to action to all our listeners, whoever hears this message, is this: every single day we have a choice when we wake up in the morning. Who will show up? Which version of me? The best version of me, which includes a kind version, a loving version, and a happy version, or a version that's, cranky, blaming, doesn't take personal responsibility, and, just looks to criticize, basically. To me, the call to action, I'm mindful of that consciously every single day. How will I show up with my immediate family, my extended family, my friends, my colleagues, my clients, my partners? And I have a choice every day. Some days are better than others. So some days are easier to be this way. That's fine. But even in the toughest of moments, and Randy, you talked about it. I was basically in Los Angeles in hell. I grew up there. I went to communities like Pacific Palisades where I grew up. For every one home standing, there were 100 homes that were burned to the ground. Even on Sunset Boulevard, the famous Sunset Boulevard, not destruction everywhere. But so you can focus on that. Say, and what it is horrible. There's no question about it. But you know what? You can always focus on the little things that I saw people helping one another. So, and symbolically, it took me about a month to get in there. Actually, I went with some friends of ours because you had to have a home that you owned in order to be able to get, because otherwise you were. So, and we went to his house, burned to the ground, beautiful home. But in the backyard, there were signs of life. And I got there before he got there, in his own home. He had only been there once, like, right after it happened. And there was grass growing. It was turning green. And I'd looked at him and look, there's life. And he took a picture of that. He says, you know what? This gives me hope. because as nature, in the midst of darkness, and everything is burnt, there's a little bit of greenery coming up in his backyard. He goes, eventually, my whole backyard is going to be green again, and I will rebuild again. And thank you for that little sign of hope, you know. So my point being is that no matter what happens in life, no matter how big the storm is, no matter how difficult things are, guess what? The sun will come out again. It will come out again.
That
And
is
we're
a
giving
beautiful
a second
example,
and
my
third
friend.
chance. It was so symbolic that I caught a little bit of like a little side of his yard. Everything else was black, right? And but there was it green. And I'm like, look, there's hope. That's how I chose to see that. And he got it. And he goes, I really need that. And he called his wife, said, honey, look, there's a little bit of grass growing in our backyard. And it sounds kind of silly to you guys, but it's more of the symbolism.
Oh,
Yeah, no, it's a
it doesn't
very
sound silly at
powerful
all.
example, and I think we're often conditioned by what we watch, what we read, everything the news, all the news flow, which is predominantly negative, and we're becoming conditioned, almost jaded, to see the bad, and we overlook the good that's so pervasive all around us, and so bad things happen, unfortunately. But what you just described, Eli, was a beautiful example, of the blossoms of growth that are always there, and the things that uplift us. And there's always something to be hopeful for, in a world that often can make us feel hopeless. But it is a choice, and kindness is a choice, and just the choice to, be the best versions of ourselves in each and every day, and each and every interaction is very, very powerful. We have that ability within us. And so kindness really is a strength, it's a superpower, and we just merely need to exercise it. And there's an adage, the only difference between a good day and a bad day is our attitude.
100%.
And it's absolutely correct. And yes, bad things happen, but it's how we respond. I think what's more important is not what happens, but how we choose to respond to them. And we just can't become sucked into this vortex of negative energy. And I'm a big advocate of the law of attraction, right? Positive energy begets positive energy, and more good begets more of it. And we've got to turn this negative cycle around. And we do that by collectively doing good things for each other. We lift each other up when others are knocked down. We support each other. And that positive energy will get more of it. And that's how we create a culture of kindness in communities throughout the world.
Beautifully said, Kevin. And my goodness, we've already zipped through 25 minutes of wonderful conversation, a challenging conversation, but good conversation, a conversation that needs to be had. I just want to say thank you, Kevin, for taking the time to be with us today. And thank you, Elia, and thank you to our audience. We're so grateful for the time you've taken to listen. We know it's not been our normal conversation, but it's been a conversation that's needed. And so thank you for taking the time to listen. Now, Kevin, before we go, if people want to reach you and learn more about Kindness Worldwide, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, I'd encourage everyone to visit our website, kindnessworldwide.org. There's toolkits, there's resources, there's ways to get engaged, there's ways to support our efforts. In many ways, volunteerism, financial support, we welcome it all. We all have a role to play. This story is now ours to write collectively together, which I think will be the most beautiful chapters yet of this beautiful story. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook. I'm very easy to find. And so I just welcome everyone to be part of this fascinating, beautiful story that we're all going to write together. And I just thank you both for your time. Look, I love you both. You're family to me. I love your audience. I love it. And those are words that I think they should be very easy to say. And they're three powerful words. I love you. And yet so many people are just afraid to say them. And we need to say them more often to each other and to our families, because look, life is fleeting. We've learned that. And tomorrow's not promised. We only have the present, the gift of today, the gift of now. And those three words can make all the world of difference to someone who hears them. And so I just felt inclined to say that. Truly, love you both, and love everyone here as part of this special global community, and good things to come.
Thank you, Kevin. And I know this was a more serious conversation than we normally have, but much needed, of course, because we do need to address when things go astray. Kevin, we're going to have you back again, because the initial idea of having you was to talk about all the amazing things that are taking place. Let me just say one thing to our audience. This man went from losing a wallet a couple of years ago to attending the United Nations tomorrow. And this is just the beginning. So we want to bring you back after you have your experience at the UN. Wow, congratulations to you. I can't wait to witness and to capture all the good things that are happening. Uh, I love our collaboration. I love our partnership. Kindness Factor, we're in the entertainment business to capture wonderful, amazing kindness stories. And if we had a camera following Kevin around on a daily basis, we'd have a full season within a week.
Probably a full season.
I'm gonna end on that note.
I think we might have a full season within a couple of days. My goodness.
And we look forward to you. We look forward to you coming out. We got a lot of filming to do in the next couple of weeks already here in Colorado. We can't wait to have you in our home, and we have a story to tell. There's going to be a movie documentary coming out that will blow you away. So this is just a teaser, but it's coming before the end of this year. It'll be out, and you watch.
I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait to see it in a few short weeks.
Yeah, that's right.
Thanks again to our audience. Want to ask you to stop and do three things. Think about what you learned today. Ask yourself what you learned, how it's applicable, and what you're going to do about it. And then go take action. Thank you so much again for listening. And remember every day that with kindness,
Everybody wins.
everybody wins. Thank you.
Thank you.